Hello, and welcome to Daily Podcast number 5. This is Eric Dobson, and I've promised myself this will be the last attempt. It's another late night, but done a couple takes here, and this is it. Getting through it. So, big thing, another late night. I got back from a friend's house and watched the Russell Crowe Robin Hood for the first time, and I vaguely remembered that there was some sort of controversy on the meaning behind it when it came out. I didn't really remember much about that, but I definitely saw a lot more value in it than just entertainment. It was great entertainment, a lot of good visuals, some decent battle scenes, and just really well made. I was surprised for almost 2 hours and 40 minutes. It really kept me engaged. I almost wish it was a little longer. But one of the lessons I got from it was the idea of eternal vigilance, is the famous quote, but the movie starts with the kind of titles on the screen talking about times of tyranny and oppression and things like that, and what was it, the end or beginning or so of the 12th century was such a time in England, and it goes on, and what struck me through the movie is that principles are a great thing to have. I think more people should have them and live them. But ultimately, they're not worth much if you don't have the willingness and ability to take action on those principles when necessary. And it's as great as it was to see Russell Crowe and the others and fighting for these things they believe in. Ultimately, they had the ability to fight. And I think in modern times, we really take that for granted, and I'm as bad as anyone. Definitely a first world cushy lifestyle that I live, but it's definitely something we put off and kind of outsource to a future generation, saying, well, we don't want to deal with this right now, and it's peacetime, and why do I need to prepare for things, or kind of whether mentally or physically, kind of taking preparations for the idea that things may not always be this good. And it's very, I think, in the end, irresponsible and really doesn't do any favors for future generations that are going to have to clean up our mess. So, it's a huge topic. There's a lot I could say about it, but that was kind of one of the main things that got me thinking about is just, these things never happen when you are expecting it or when you're ready. It's always when we lack vigilance and preparation that opens the door for things to happen. So tough subject, kind of a big thing, but definitely something I was thinking about. The other thing for the day, if you've been following, and I think there's about 3 of you who have, I've been hand coding my new site. I'm hoping to have it up by Tuesday, Wednesday this week before I go to London. I woke up this morning, was trying to solve a problem, and ran into regular expressions. Now, if you aren't into the programming and computer tech stuff, I had never heard of regular expressions. Maybe I'd heard of them, but I never knew anything about what they were. And it's basically ways of searching, filtering text to set rules for how to deal with text or find it or process it. And if you're not familiar with it, it can just look like a long string of gibberish, just numbers and letters and slashes and brackets and curlies and just in no sensical order if you don't know what you're looking for. So, learned a little bit about that today, enough to use the fundamentals a little bit. But it really got me thinking about mastery and the path to undertake a new skill. Huge subject, another thing. I'm not going to cover it in less than 10 minutes, which is the goal here. But just the idea of, for me, it just doesn't work to set a goal for a goal's sake and stick to it and gain a new skill. It has to be an enjoyable path. I have to appreciate the effort it takes to get there. I have to enjoy the effort, the practice, as much as the result. And that's the only way you really ever attain mastery. So it's kind of a tough subject to think, okay, well, regular expressions. I found a book. It's about 600 pages long. I could spend the next month studying it and probably get pretty good at this. And then there's about 20, 30, 50 other skills that I need to do the same thing if I want to really get into this programming thing and server administration, all these things. So, man, do I take this step? Is it kind of pointless? Because if I'm not willing to commit to the next 20 steps, then why take the first one? These are tough things to commit to for me. Now, for the YouTube viewers, I don't know if you can see in the camera, I have a Rubik's Cube here, a well-worn one. There's actually a video on my YouTube channel of doing it in about 45 seconds, I think, which is probably one of my better times. But when I think of the path of mastery, there's just a couple skills I have picked up. Playing the piano is one, how I make my living right now. Rubik's Cube is another one, kind of a side skill. But what's funny is I never necessarily set out on a long-term goal of mastering the Rubik's Cube. I just did it because it was enjoyable. I first learned to solve it and did some practice, got it down, and could solve it in about 5 minutes. And maybe it got down to about 3 minutes, and that's about as good as it got. And I just kind of put it aside for a long time. Picked it up again, did some studying, and again, over and over and over, purely because I enjoyed solving the cube. There was no, I had a vague long-time goal of, it'd be really cool if I could get it under a minute. But if it happens, it happens. I just enjoy it, so I keep doing it. And lo and behold, little improvements here and there, just little by little. And just for enjoyment's sake, I enjoyed not just the visual challenge of analyzing the squares, the mental challenge of solving, but just the physical feel of the cube. I would actually, if I'm on a road trip, just sit there and kind of go through the moves in the dark. Even if I couldn't see anything, I would just practice the physical motions just to get them more efficient and smoother. And so naturally, a few thousand solves later, which if you can see on the videos, is actually most have all been done with this cube. It's surprising. This one's lasted me about 5 years. A few thousand solves later, and I was consistently doing it under a minute every single time, which originally, when I started, was just a pipe dream to do it even once under a minute. So, and again, you get to the point where, am I a master? Well, definitely not. I know, world record's something like 11 seconds or probably less. There's guys that consistently do it in 20 seconds. So yeah, master, relative to who? I don't know. All I know is I enjoyed the path for its own sake, vague goals, but mainly just the practice was what was enjoyable. And it got me pretty far. So yeah, when it comes to regular expressions, who knows? Will I find the practice enjoyable for its own sake? Probably a little bit. I think there's a fun and interesting logic to it. But at the end of the day, there does come time for the discipline to just sit down and do a little bit every day and get where you're going. So big topics. Certainly not going to do a definitive podcast on eternal vigilance or the path of mastery in 10 minutes or less. But just things I was thinking about tonight, and I wanted to put it out there. So that is Daily Podcast number 5. I'll be back tomorrow for who knows what, and have a couple more before I will hopefully be doing one from London. Well, I guess I'll be doing maybe 4 of them from London. So thanks for listening. YouTubers, thanks for watching. And that is it for tonight. Speak soon.